Over those 3 decades working at PSBA, I've come to have a very strong belief in the importance of school board governance. And the reason is this: you represent a unique role of community ownership of our schools. So let me tell you what you're not. You are not a special interest group. You are public officials who represent the public's interest in public education. These are challenging times for school boards. State and federal governments are making decisions that really should be made at the local school board table. Some special interests wish to privatize our education system. And frankly, many of those who push that agenda have a very good reason for doing so. They stand to make a lot of money. We must stand up to those who seek to sell off our public schools and feather their own nests. This choice agenda too often is simply an empty promise and, sadly, often an excuse to resegregate our schools. Education should be a melting pot and not a layer cake. Because this system is the greatest hope for a strong democracy, NSBA is taking this challenge very seriously, and we are moving aggressively to address it. During this conference, you're going to be hearing about the new NSBA, and there's a lot of information on our website, and you can pick up materials at our booth on the exhibit floor. But here's the short version. NSBA intends to make its presence felt in our services to state school boards associations, including, of course, our continuing efforts to promote student achievement, and in our advocacy for public education, in the Congress, in the courts, in the media, in the public arena. We will continue to play a strong defense, but we're also going on offense to help elevate the agenda. And wouldn't this be nice? To make others respond to us as leaders in the education community in this country. I believe that 3 words capture the essence of our new approach. The first is from. NSBA will take the lead in presenting proposals to advance public education. These will come from us, and we've already started. As Ed just mentioned, NSBA's bill, the Local School Board Governance and Flexibility Act, which would restrict the authority of the U.S. Department of Education to enact rules and other requirements that exceed congressional authorization. This bipartisan proposal has been introduced in the House with a number of co-sponsors. And we want to thank especially the FRN members who are here and around the country who have helped and will continue to help secure sponsors for this important bill. But folks, you can expect NSBA to propose other pieces of legislation too to help shape this education debate. The second word is with. NSBA will work with partners in our advocacy work. And for example, as Ed just mentioned, that bill concerning the Department of Education has earned the endorsement of AASA, and we are very grateful for that. So we will continue to work with the education community whenever and wherever we can. And I might add, we'll look for unlikely allies too. And finally, the third word is through. We will take on those who have an agenda that's contrary to ours. We will make our presence felt. Now, we may not win every battle, but our opponents will know they have to come through us to get their ideas considered. So there it is. Our goal is to ensure that education policy in this country will come from us, with us, or through us. One way or the other, NSBA will be at the center of the action. This lean-forward approach projects a new attitude, and it calls for a new look for NSBA. We're transforming ourselves in practice and in appearance. So today, for the first time, it's my great pleasure to present NSBA's brand new logo. There it is. This will be our new look starting this summer. It's a reminder that we're no longer your grandfather's NSBA. We're here to make a point, and more importantly, to make a difference. In addition to our new advocacy focus, there are some other exciting changes coming too. This includes a stronger set of nationally developed services for school boards brought to you in partnership with your state school boards association. We're calling it National Connection Services. And again, I invite you to stop by the NSBA booth for more information about that and about the new NSBA. Folks, I'd like to close with just a brief story. Benny Goodin just talked about the movie Lincoln. How many people here saw that movie? If you did, you probably remember the character played by Tommy Lee Jones, Thaddeus Stevens. How could you forget that character? You may recall that he was a bit of a curmudgeon, that he was brutally frank, and he was absolutely committed to his position. Well, before he went to Congress, Thaddeus Stevens was a state legislator in Pennsylvania. And in the 1830s, he was a leader of a successful movement to create a public school system in my home state. Well, 1 year after that law was passed, some special interests, the ones who didn't like the idea of a public education system in the first place, convinced the state Senate to pass legislation revoking this new common school law. That repeal bill then went to the state house, and that's where it ran into Thaddeus Stevens. He stood and delivered a speech that ultimately saved the public schools in Pennsylvania. I like this story because I like history. But I love this story because of what Thaddeus Stevens had to say that day. He said, if an elective republic is to endure for any great length of time, every elector must have sufficient information, not only to accumulate wealth and take care of his pecuniary concerns, but to direct wisely the legislature, the ambassadors, and the executive of the nation. For some of all these things falls to every free man, and I'm sure if he were here today, he would say free woman. If then the permanence of government depends upon some knowledge, it is the duty of the government to see that the means of information is diffused to every citizen. And then Stevens said, this is a sufficient answer to those who deem education a private and not a public duty, or who argue that they are willing to educate their own children, but not their neighbors' children. What a powerful message. Our form of government depends on all citizens being well educated. We have a duty to diffuse knowledge to every child. It's not simply a private choice. These words resonate today, nearly 180 years later. They speak directly to our mission and the issues that we're dealing with right now. They remind us that there always have been opponents of a strong public education system for all children. And folks, most importantly, I think they remind us that democracy itself is at stake in this debate. We are in this together, and we must stand together. Your national and state school boards associations are working to meet this challenge. So I have just one question for you. Are you with us? Will you stand up for public education in this country? Let's get to work. Thank you very much. Thank you.